Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I can't believe it's already February, soon to be March. Um, Next thing you know, it's going to be summer, but let's enjoy a little bit of winter still before. So let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and let's do roll call, Erica.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
7:20. Trish Gonzalez is here. Bill Stewart. Julie Chetney.
Here.
Pretty Subramaniam. I see you, Pretty. Sally Privet.
Here.
Joseph Wang.
Here.
Sam Yee. I see you, Sam. Miss Karen Sarsa DSI.
Here.
Philip Loy.
Here.
Richard Centeno.
I'm here.
Hi, Richard. Adriana Pinedo.
Here.
And Tina Wright.
Here.
Okay, you have a quorum. We're gonna ask if anybody is not gonna be speaking right now, please mute yourselves because we still hear that echo.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, everybody. So let's go ahead and review the agenda. If there's any changes or amendments, please raise your hand and we can get that. I don't see any. So we're going to go ahead and move along. Erica, do we have any public comment?
Yes, ma'am. We have Mr. Carl Argila.
Okay.
Erica, sound check.
You're good, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you, Erica. Well, board, as you know, my name is Carl Argila. I am the father of Cavan Argila, an intellectually disabled deaf client of the San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center. And as you know, tonight's board meeting is being recorded, including my comments under the provisions of the Bagley-Keene Act, and will be posted for public review on my blog at www.sgprc.net. Now, board, I must remind you that the situation for my son, Cavan Argila, remains unresolved. You became my son's conservator by filing false declarations with probate court, and then using your lawyers to prevent me from terminating your conservatorship. And of course, the truth is all of this occurred during the prior administration, but you have perpetuated it. You placed my son in a group home against his will, and you're keeping him there against his will. If you doubt this, please just ask your service coordinator, Sylvia Monod, who has spoken directly with Cavan about his placement. Worse yet, in that group home, supposedly for deaf clients, you have staff that are not qualified to communicate with deaf persons, called communication accessibility. And as you know, I filed a complaint with the National Association of the Deaf regarding your failure to provide a communication accessible environment for my son. And the NAD indicated that their first step was to provide you with an advocacy letter to assure that you fully understood your requirements to provide a communication accessible environment for deaf clients. And it is my understanding from Erica that you have been provided with a copy of that advocacy letter from the National Association of the Deaf. So once again, board, I am asking that you terminate your conservatorship of my son, Cavan Argila. Cavan has expressed vehemently his desire that you terminate his conservatorship. Your executive director's designee, Patricia Rambo, as well, has been told by Cavan that he wants your conservatorship terminated. Nevertheless, you continue to refuse to terminate my son's conservatorship. And just a reminder to any parent hearing my voice tonight, please take note. The San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center is not a state agency. They're a private nonprofit corporation. And no matter how consumer friendly they may appear to be, ultimately, they can become your child's conservator and ruin your life. Please assure that the official minutes of this board meeting accurately state that I am requesting again that you terminate the conservatorship of my son, Cavan Argila. Thank you again for your time, board. Good night.
Okay, thank you. Erica, is there any additional public comment?
No, ma'am.
I
Somebody
see
has their
Adrian.
hand up.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Adriana?
Thank you, Trish. Good evening, Mr. Argila. My name is Adriana Pinedo. I don't think we've formally met before. I received the letter that was shared with the board from the NAD. I reviewed it. I found it very informative. Thank you. I was curious though, at the end of the letter, there is just a statement requesting from the NAD for healthcare providers to provide the following, and the letter is made out to whom it may concern. I'm curious if the letter is being presented to the board today with a specific request or if this was informational. And if it was informational, I was just a little confused because under healthcare provider, it specifies doctors, nurses, and other medical providers. I just wanted to make sure I understood if the regional center is the medical provider that the letter is talking about, or if it's the facility where your son is living in.
Adriana, I think he left.
Okay. Would Eric or would someone else have information on this?
We'll make note, Adriana, for it's a public comment. We'll make note of it and then we'll circle back.
Okay, thank you, Jesse.
Thank you so much.
Trish, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I had muted myself and I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you for that. Dara, did you want to do an introduction for Tom from WINS and for our annual audit report?
Yes.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, everyone. I'm pleased to introduce our independent auditors at WINS, who have completed the audit of our financial statements for the fiscal year ending in June 2025, which can be found in your meeting minutes, your meeting material minutes. They are here today to present the results of their audit and share their observations for your review and approval. The presentation was presented at Executive Finance, and that was a little bit more in depth. And so today we're going to do a bit of a highlight of that presentation from Executive Finance. So please join me in welcoming Tom Huey with WINS.
Thank you, Dara. Thank you very much for having me here this evening. My name is Tom Huey. I'm a partner here at WINS. We are your independent auditors for fiscal year 2025. We are returning as your auditors. As some of you may know, DDS has a requirement where you're not allowed to utilize the same auditors for more than 5-year period. And your previous auditors went through that 5-year period. And I'm happy to say that WINS has been selected to start up a new period as your auditors. And fiscal year 2025 is our first year back. As Dara has mentioned, the draft of the financial statements were presented to the executive committee or executive finance committee 2 weeks ago, I think it was. And we went through that financial statement in depth, and there was a Q&A session which allowed the members to ask questions I believe they were satisfied with the presentation. The overview of the draft financial is going to be what we in our industry calls an unmodified report. An unmodified report is commonly referred to as a clean opinion. We are going to be issuing a unmodified clean opinion over the financial statements for the fiscal year. And in addition to that, there are several other opinions attached to that document, which specifies certain control testing as well as compliance testing that we did in conjunction with our audit. And both of those have yielded also clean opinions. The draft that you're looking at in your package does not have any findings. Sometimes as we go through audits, we come across issues where it's required that we disclose deficiencies within the environment, or if there's any financial findings related to our test work. Happy to say that did not occur this year. The overall report is going to be a so-called clean report, and timing wise, you're within the time frame of when the deadline of submitting that report to DDS is due. The deadline is March 31st, and obviously, as we mentioned, we're just barely getting toward the end of February here, so we've got a couple of weeks ahead of us before that deadline. But the draft is presented to you. I think the committee is going to recommend you accept the report, and once that has been approved, we will work with DARA to finalize that report and do a final submission to the federal agency, which requires a copy of your audited financial statements. I'm happy to answer any questions the board and any of the board members that didn't attend the committee meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the draft at this point.
Are there any questions or comments? Great. Seeing none. Dara, would you like us to make a motion to approve the WINS annual audit report as presented?
Yes, please.
Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Do I have a second?
I'm a second, Trish. Thank you.
Second? Julie? Oh,
Philip had it.
okay. I saw your hand up over there. Okay. Thank you, Philip. Are there any further discussions? Any nays? Any abstains? Okay, seeing and hearing none.
Hold on, do I have to abstain because it's financial, or do I just say nothing?
You would have to abstain.
I abstain.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Did you get all that, Erica? Thank you. And so it has been approved.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. We'll be
Thank
in
you,
touch.
Tom.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay, moving along, right along. I'm gonna turn it over to Jesse for a quick introduction.
Thank you, Trish. Good evening, everybody.
Good
Tonight
evening.
is hi, Tina. Greetings. Tonight is a board training night. As everybody probably saw on the agenda, there are different topics, some that are statutorily required, and then there's other topics that we do that are of interest to our board and our committee members through a process. And so tonight is about understanding regional center services that are available. And so you get the honor and privilege of seeing members of the executive team. So you'll be hearing from Hortensia, our Director of Clinical Services, Daniela, our Director of Client Services, our Associate Directors, Rosa and Sarita. And then you'll also be hearing from Salvador Gonzalez, our Director of Service Access and Equity. They're going to go in a not a quick pace, but a good pace to make sure that we end on time. So be sure if there's any questions or anything, please let them know. But excited for the opportunity to do our part in uplifting all the work that we do every single day regional centers are very complex. We offer a lot of different areas, and you're going to hear tonight from our intake from the very beginning all the way through case management of what the teams do and the services available up until all of our outreach efforts and everything that we're doing in our community. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to my amazing executive team. And I believe we're going to be starting off with Hortensia and our clinical area, starting first.
Thank you so much, Jesse.
Real quick, good evening. Erica,
Yes,
can
ma'am.
we share the screen?
Yes, go ahead. Is it just you sharing cell?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hortensia Tafoya, for those of you who haven't met me yet. My position involves overseeing the clinical services department as well as the intake area. So at another time, we'll talk about the other areas that I oversee. But today, we are talking about intake, and we will have an opportunity to learn about different areas of the agency. So we'll go step by step. You'll also get to hear from Sal Gonzalez as well as Daniela Santana. Next slide, please. Okay, so in our intake department, we have our clinical services manager who supports by overseeing some of the intake clerks, as well as other staff that are part of the risk management team and federal programs. We also have Sonia Saavedra, referral specialist manager in intake. She oversees only referral specialists and unit clerk. And then we have Blanca Jurado, early start intake manager, who oversees the early start intake part of that program. So she only oversees early start intake service coordinators and a unit clerk. And then Millenbot is the manager that oversees the Lanterman intake area with only Lanterman intake service coordinators and a unit clerk. And then each one of them supervises about 8 to 12 staff. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so the Early Start program, for those of you who are not familiar with that, it serves children ages 0 to 3 with developmental delays or who are at risk for a developmental disability and their families. This program is statewide. These services are very therapeutic. It's very preventative. It helps the entire family. There's a lot of parent training involved and support with resources. Next slide. So part of our intake process involves referrals that we receive from various sources: parents, caregivers, pediatricians, Department of Children and Family Services. We use a specific portal for those, schools, daycares, and we receive those referrals through many means. It can be phone, fax, mail, online, or in person, email as well. And then the information that we look for, of course, we need consent from the holder of educational rights, and we need that consent to be provided in the areas of concern. And we look and hope that families will give us that permission for the areas identified. Also, we ask for the basic contact information. We ask for them to share any medical records available and proof of address within our SGPRC catchment area. And we're very flexible with how that looks. If someone is renting, say, a room from another family and they don't have the most common like electricity bill or mortgage bill under their name, then we ask for a letter and another form of proof of address to support. Next. So we follow a 45 intake timeline for this program. This program is part of Part C of special education. We look at how many days we have in the intake department to complete our tasks to bring the child in through the process to ensure that we allow sufficient time for service coordinators and ongoing client services to then schedule an IFSP meeting, which is the Individualized Family Service Plan meeting. So the first week, we take in the referral, we receive the request, the consents, and we refer out for those assessments that are needed. We assign the case as well. After that, we will go ahead and schedule everything that is pending. Sometimes eligibility team reviews, makes their determination. Sometimes they say, oh, actually, we believe that there should be an additional assessment than what parent identified. So then that brings us into the 21 to 30 days. And then once we have everything ready to go, we will transfer the case over to the service coordinator who will be supporting the family. Next, please. And so in looking at the early start eligibility criteria, we are looking for either an established risk, which, and I'll show you that in a few slides coming up, just one area that's an established risk, or two areas of high risk, at risk qualifying criteria. The other area can be if we identify that someone has a developmental disability, then we establish that they're eligible and they'd be eligible under the Lanham Act as well. But I'll talk a little bit more about that further down. So as far as what we see as the most common qualifying criteria is a 25% delay in one of the following areas of development. That would be communication, whether it's receptive or expressive, cognitive, which is learning, physical, that can be a large muscle movement, gross motor, or small muscle movement, fine motor. Social emotional skills, that involves behavior, and then adaptive skills, the ability to do things for themselves. Next slide, please. And so this is what the established risk criteria looks like. It can be anything from genetic conditions, metabolic conditions, exposure to substances in utero, and that includes fetal alcohol syndrome. There can be neurological trauma that affects hearing, vision, or other areas, infection or disease of the central nervous system, or underdeveloped central nervous system. There could also be an orthopedic problem or other area that we would determine that is considered an established risk. Next slide, please. And then for the high risk area, we are looking for prematurity, being born early, below 32 weeks gestation, or weighing under 1,500 grams or 3 pounds. Serious biomedical insult, we're looking at brain injury, we're looking at small for gestational age or intrauterine growth retardation, multiple congenital anomalies, genetic disorders, severe respiratory distress, again, prenatal exposure to teratogen substances, asphyxia, or persistent low muscle tone or increased muscle tone. And when we're looking at these areas, we are checking records, medical records, NICU records, to see if these are some areas that individuals or babies are presenting with, because it puts them at high risk for developmental disabilities such as cerebral palsy or an intellectual disability or other developmental disabilities. We also look at severe and persistent metabolic abnormalities like hypoglycemia or problems with their liver. Clinically significant failure to thrive, where they're having issues with weight gain, they're not maintaining on the growth curve, and that's being monitored by their doctor. Also, central nervous system lesions or abnormalities, seizures at birth, and then having a parent with a developmental disability. And then lastly, informed clinical opinion. That is when the team gathers documentation, speaks to the family. The team may have already assessed or not. Maybe we have sufficient information through a review of records that maybe one of our nurses has already completed. That is sufficient at times for the team to bring a baby in, and that's under informed clinical opinion. Next slide, please. Okay, so next I'm going to talk a little bit about the Lanterman Act. You may be very familiar with this. This program serves our individuals that are ages 3 and over. And California Code of Regulations defines it as an intellectual disability, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, autism spectrum disorder, or a condition similar to an intellectual disability or that requires similar services. We're looking at a IQ that is in the borderline range within the 70s and low adaptive skills, and it had to have occurred prior to age 18. And we're always looking at these developmental disabilities in terms of, is this something that is lifelong that we're expecting to continue indefinitely? Next slide, please. Okay, and here it is again for you. And the one thing that it cannot be is solely psychiatric in nature, solely learning disabilities, or solely physical in nature. We may see that in autism spectrum disorder. We may see that in any of the other areas, like a combination or dually diagnosed, but it cannot solely be these that are listed here. Next slide, please. And then the way that we look at substantial disability is a significant limitation in at least 3 areas. And we say age appropriate in parentheses because we are looking at what an individual would have been doing for their age level. So we look at communication, learning, self-care, mobility, self-direction, and for the older individuals, capacity for independence and economic self-sufficiency. Next slide. And then we have provisional eligibility. This is a program for children under the age of 5 that was, it came into law through AB 136 Assembly Bill, and is part of the WIC code under Code 4512. The initial implementation became effective July 16, 2021, and then it takes a little while for us to receive DDS guidance, but that was received August 5th, 2021. And we learned that this program helps us to identify children that are high risk for a developmental disability, that had we not had this program, they may fall through the cracks, as they say. So what we're looking at here is first, children were identified between 3 to 4 years of age to be provisionally eligible for regional center services if they had a developmental, if they had a disability, not solely physical in nature, and had significant functional limitations in at least 2 areas. Whereas for the Lanterman Act, you require a diagnosis and you require 3 areas. That was the difference. What changed during the expansion, July 10, 2023, is that they removed the 3 to 4 years of age and it became under 5 years of age, allowing children to be identified through early start intake, which is wonderful because if we see from the get-go that someone is already high risk, then we can identify that. And currently, this program is allowing us to provide Lanterman services as well as early start services to these children. And then what we do is reassess closer to age 5, so around 4 years, 9 months, to determine Lanterman eligibility. Some will stay with us under the Lanterman Act because we identify a developmental disability. However, many will leave because they were just high risk and we identified that they were graduating. Next slide, please. Okay, so then next we have how long it takes for this process. The process takes 120 days for typical cases, but 60 days or less if there is a situation with health and safety. And can you move over to the next slide, please? So I think I'm running out of time here. This slide, the takeaway here is the assessment types that we use, or the protocols, the tools. And so you can look at that at another time. One thing I want to point out about this is at times we will do a medical or neural consultation in lieu of the assessment. Not everyone needs an assessment. We may also just review records that someone brings in. Next slide, please. And then here is the information for anybody interested on how to make a referral. That can be in person, online, via email, fax, or phone. Next slide. And then here's some data on the growth of total numbers of individuals served. It's been on an average of 5% increase every year. And that number is rounded up, but you will see here in the chart what that looks like. Let me see, where is that number? As of December 2025, we've been serving 18,183 individuals. And then if you go back to 2022, you see that it started in the 15,000, and then slowly it's been climbing up. Next slide, please. And then here is some comparison data for early start intake and eligibility for you to look at. Decreasing in number of referrals received. However, there's been an increase in the number of children found eligible through early start intake. Next slide. And then Lanterman intake referral trends, including provisional eligibility. You can see how things trended differently in 2022, with the number of Lanterman referrals being higher than those being found eligible. But because of provisional and joining in, we saw a change in that trend. Next slide. And then there was an increase in number of calls received per month in intake from calendar year 2024, with an average of 590 per month. And the average number of calls received in 2025 was 676. Next. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you so much. I will leave you with Ms. Santana.
Beautiful. Thank you, Hortensia. We appreciate your presentation and information. So good evening, everyone. We are very happy to be here for our portion of the presentation. So together, myself, Rosa Chavez, Associate Director for Family and Transition, and Zoraida Preciado, Associate Director overseeing Adult and Residential, will be providing an overview of client services. Next slide. Whoops. So yes, we will keep it very high level, and we will be focusing on the type of services that you're going to see in each of these areas. And then at the very end, we are going to also touch upon other teams that are housed under client services, which play a very critical role. And quite frankly, all the departments within Regional Center play a critical role for the individuals and families we served. Next slide. Yes, so hopefully you all and I think you did receive a link to this video. And so if you didn't have an opportunity, you can do so at your own time. It's a great video. Yes, thank you, Jasmine. Great video provided to you by our sister regional center, I believe Tri-County. So thank you. Next slide. Yes, so for this slide, again, a very high level. To your right, you see a depiction of our beautiful state of California, right? In all the 21 regional centers located geographically, but we are focusing on us, on St. Gabe, Pomona. So we all know that we are private nonprofit and that we provide services and supports, right? For little ones, as Hortensia described, right? Early start, and then we move on to Latterman, 3 all the way till the end of life. And then we obviously have to support, communicate, and work with our vendor providers for these services. Next slide. So the structure for client services, if you can think of an umbrella, And under that umbrella are 3 areas. So the 3 areas indicated on this slide are early childhood development, family and transition, adult and residential. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And then the different ages that are depicted again on this slide. Next. And so the role of a service coordinator, as we all probably most likely know, is very critical here, right? A service coordinator is crucial in the coordination of services and monitoring, ensuring that services are appropriate, person-centered, right? We offer solutions, advocate, but also, and this is my message to all of you and our community when I go out on presentations, we are aware that there are issues. Sometimes there are communication breakdowns or whatnot. So we are open to feedback, and we need to know about these issues so that we could provide appropriate training and support for our team. Now, we have developed under, thank you, Jesse's leadership, we have developed a great on-duty team and other areas that support families that may not be, we're not getting back to in a timely manner. So again, we appreciate the feedback and we welcome it. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, now this slide, I wanted to depict essentially what it looks like for an individual that is in regional center, right? So at any age, for example, if an individual starts with us from birth, right, they're going to move on to these different areas depending on the age. So, but we also get transfer in from other regional centers, right? So if somebody moves to our area and they happen to be 13, then we're going to put them in transition services. And so that's when we move on to the presentation, that's where you're going to hear from Rosa and Zoraida, how they focus on specific ages that are essential and tailored for what that individual is going through, right? So obviously when you're 13, you're looking at transitional services, you're still going to school. When you're an adult, when you're 23 years old, you're looking at going to college or probably working, so on and so forth. So I wanted to, again, provide this life stages planning just to depict to everyone what it looks like. A lifespan of an individual in the regional center. And then we see self-determination SDP, right? That's available for individuals as early as 3 years old. Next slide. Okay, and so here we start with our early childhood development, okay? So this area has 2 subdivisions, and I should have noted subdivisions, right? And so if you again think of this little now mini umbrella, early childhood, the area for early start depicted 0 to 3, and then preschoolers 3 to 6. Highlighted there in red are the regulations and statutes that govern each area. So as you all know, once you turn 3, we have to establish eligibility. And so that's when individuals are eligible for Latterman Act, or if they're provisionally eligible, as Hortensia explained to us. Very important that both of these areas are required to be at a 1 to 40 caseload. And so this is public policy that I'm sure Jesse and others have been talking to you about. And very, very important that we maintain these caseloads. Now, in a perfect world, I do want to share with you that our dream is that everyone is at a 1 to 40. So that means that a service coordinator has a caseload of 40. Right now, we have different numbers with other areas up to 75. But again, as we continue to advocate, we think that we will get there at some point, given all the changes that we've seen in our system. Next slide. Okay, and now we're going to look at the types of services provided for early start and preschool. So for early start, we're looking at occupational therapy, physical therapy, therapeutic types of services, a lot of collaboration with vendors, service providers, right? And then towards the end of that age, closer to 3, we start coordinating with school districts because we want to access and transition those little ones. So we understand that there is that optimal brain development, right? That a very critical age that we have to capitalize on. given the brain development. And then for the preschoolers, then we move on to different types of services, diapers, daycare, right? But we want to also focus on any gaps of services. We want to address those. We want to ensure that there's a smooth transition, and that this is where the increase in collaboration with school districts begin, and the IEP process begins. So again, very critical time periods here. And so next slide. And so these next two slides, actually, Hortensia already covered them, but what I want to say about these is, again, prior to age 3 is a very critical age, and a lot of collaboration between client services and clinical services, given we have to assess whether or not the little one is made eligible for Latterman, or is graduates out, or is provisionally. Same with the next slide. So at this point, I will pass it on to Rosa Chavez, who will be speaking about family and transition services for the next slide. Thank you. Rosa, are you up there?
I think you went
Sorry,
one
I
too
didn't
fast, Sal.
unmute. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here. I am Rosa Chavez, Associate Director that oversees Family and Transition, and I am lucky enough to have 2 subdivisions, 4 units each, with a 5th unit growing in family services due to all the growth. Our department oversees or has 46 service coordinators in family services. And the primary focus there is family-centered support, developmental growth, and school collaborations, with key emphasis on parent partnership, early intervention, stability in the home, and school environment. So there are about 3,300 children in the family services subdivision. We help with everything, facilitating annual IPPs, coordinating services, such as the ones listed, respite, behavior, social rec, parent training, collaborating with the school districts and providing IEP ongoing support, supporting families with benefit navigation, such as IHSS, SSI, and accessing other generic services. Let's see, on the transition side, we support 4 units, approximately 41 service coordinators, and 1 complex caseload. In transition, the primary focus is preparing youth for adulthood, employment, and independent living, with a key emphasis in empowering individuals with self-determination, employment readiness, adult system navigation, and independence. In transition services, some of the core responsibilities, aside from the ones already mentioned, is coordinating employment services with DOR, authorizing independent living skills, supporting post-educational planning, educating on SSI for adults, conservatorships, CalAble, and IHSS reassessment, coordinating adult day programs and supported employment, and ensuring that the adult system linkage and documentation compliance is present, basically preparing everyone for a post-educational life. Next screen, please. I jumped ahead and mentioned some of these services. It is on the family services side, ages 6 to 13. It's a continued strong collaboration with our school districts and initiating contacts with generic resources for our families of little ones. On the transition side, ages 14 to 23, the services that were already mentioned, but we are focused on maximizing independence and informing families of what options they have, as well as young individuals in terms of career and future planning, day program options. In the last 10 years that we've been here, our system has grown tremendously in terms of what can we offer individuals that are exiting school. So the options are infinite, and there's a lot of creativity in terms of what people wish to pursue. I believe this is the end for me. What's the next slide? Yes, so now I pass it over to Soraya Preciado, who'll talk to you about her subdivisions.
Thank you, Rosa. Good evening, everyone. My name is Soraya Preciado. I am the Associate Director for the Adult and Residential Services Department. Currently, my team is made up of 9 managers and 1 division manager. And within the department, we do have 3 divisions. We have an adult services, residential services, and 1 unit that's our aging and lifespan unit. Currently, our adult services division has 5 units. And we serve individuals, support individuals that are 23 to 59 years of age, who either live at home with family, with their loved one, with their caregivers, or maybe living independently, whether that be renting a room, living on their own in their apartment, or maybe living with a roommate. Our residential services department currently has 3 units, and they provide services and support for individuals who live in community care licensed homes, health facilities, or adult family home agency settings. Next slide, Sal. And some of the supports that, and this is just the very, very tip of the iceberg of the supports that we provide for adults. I would say these are our most common use in our division. It's definitely our support services for employment, job skill development, as you heard Rosa. As they're coming in from transition, they're finishing up their education. So many individuals are ready to go out there and develop those skills, get a job opportunity, do some volunteer work. So we definitely see a lot of referrals to the Department of Rehab, to day programs to supported employment. We also have a lot of our individuals that, as I mentioned earlier, live independently or with roommates. So they do need some support with daily skills, with budgeting, grocery shopping, paying the bills. So we do see a lot of referrals for independent living skills and supported living skills services. We do have some individuals that are also living at home that might not quite be ready to move out yet, but they want to work on those skills. So we will see some individuals living at home with family who are also receiving independent living supports to help them on that journey. We also provide services such as respite and personal assistant. And we also see a lot of requests and supports for social recreation and behavioral services in the community. As our residential services department, we currently have 3 units, and each unit provides supports to individuals that might need 24-hour care and support in these settings. Each of the units is quite unique in the type of setting that they support. For example, our residential 1 unit supports only adults who live in community care licensed homes, and we also have specialized residential homes, which is for those individuals that require a higher level of care. Some of the areas that, or referrals that we make is definitely we're always consulting with our clinicians to see how we could provide any support. We also do dental funding, and a lot of our individuals also attend day program and employment, so you'll see those services in place as well. Our residential 2 unit is unique in the sense that this unit supports individuals who live in adult family home agency settings, as well as adults in community care licensing settings and children in community care licensing settings. And just as a residential 1, we just ensure that they have the supports that they need. They're receiving additional hours, supplemental staffing hours, and if individual wants to attend a program, make sure that we provide the support so that they can continue to attend a program in the community, employment, things like that. And our 3rd unit, which is our residential 3 unit, this unit supports individuals that have more of a medical need. So we'll have individuals who live in a healthcare facility or an ARC cushion that is more medically focused. And for those individuals, we make sure that we are constantly in communication with our clinical team, ensuring that they have proper medical equipment. We do have some individuals that are still able and wanting to attend programs. So we do also have referrals for those activities in the community. Next. I do want to give a quick highlight to our housing specialist. She is not in our department, but she is a great resource to us in our department when it comes to individuals that want to move out in the community. She is extremely helpful in finding us resources for affordable housing and connecting us with those resources. So I wanted to mention that's also an option that we have and that we reach out to support for individuals.
Okay.
And next. And last but not least is our aging and lifespan unit. This is one of our newest units to our regional center. We're going on a third year. And we only have one unit. So we have one manager and 11 service coordinators right now that support individuals that are 60 years of age and older. And we call it a hybrid unit because they support them regardless in what setting that they live in. We have individuals who still live at home with family, with caregivers. We have individuals who are still living independently in their own apartments with roommates. And we have individuals that also live in residential care facilities for the elderly, the RCFEs. So some of the supports that this unit provides to the individuals that they support is still a lot of independent living skill support, supported living services support. Many individuals are now exiting out of day programs and work programs. So we do provide more support in finding social skills programs, social recreation activities. This unit does communicate a lot with our generic resources, with in-home support services, as well as access and transportation services, and also with the Department of Aging, so that they could provide the support for individuals to either continue to live at home with family or continue to live independently. And again, this is very, very top basic services that we provide, but I just wanted to make sure you mentioned the ones that we more commonly use. Next slide. Oh, and I think passing it back to Daniela.
Thank you, Soraya. And yes, just to wrap up very quickly, the other supports and within client services housed, and actually I oversee this team on the left, on duty and floater team that's supported by a manager, Ronnie Prats, a great team that provides support for walk-ins or families that if they can't get in touch with their service coordinator, there's some kind of communication breakdown or issue, then our on-duty team steps in. BCBA unit, very, very important for the high-level homes that we're required to monitor under BCBA. They provide other supportive services to our client services team. And then the rest of these specialists, forensic, transfer coordinator, placement coordinator, all play a critical role, as well as the other departments mentioned to your right. So thank you all. I will now pass it on to Mr. Salvador Gonzalez.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Sal Gonzalez, and I'm the Director of Service Access and Equity. Very, very happy that when this position was rebranded, so thank you for that, Jesse. And it really suits what we do, because now you heard from the intake, you heard from Daniela and her team. Service coordination is really the front line to what we do. And that's why for us at San Gabe, from our regional center, to have a department to solely focus on the making sure that our community is aware of what we do, helping in the outreach efforts, helping in the making sure that we're building partnerships throughout our community is so important. So thank you for that. And this is the team that we have here in Service Access and Equity. We have 2 community outreach specialists. We have 2 language access cultural competency specialists, 1 deaf and hard of hearing specialist, an education specialist, and 2 specialized units. And you'll learn a little bit about some of these a little later. But what we did when we really kind of created this department, we really wanted to hear from you as community members. We wanted to kind of build a really good infrastructure of how are we going to do outreach. Let's hear from our community first. So what we did is we partnered with Bridging Voices and contracted them. They actually hosted 16 sessions throughout our community to really kind of make it a safe place for you as a community member, as an individual served, to share with them what are the things that are missing, what are the things that we're lacking, are you not getting information in your language? So by us creating these safe spaces in the threshold languages that we serve, then we were able to meet with Bridging Voices, and they provided a report to us. And that's really kind of what built the infrastructure of how we were going to do service access and equity in our, which kind of led to coffee with our department, Service Access and Equity. We actually hosted coffee with the threshold languages that you see here, which is meeting. We met with our deaf and hard of hearing. We met with our Black community. We met with Hispanics. We met with our Chinese community, Korean community, Vietnamese. These are all threshold languages that we support under our regional center threshold languages. And for us, really kind of meeting with them on that really just kind of private space, making sure that we keep it where it's culturally sensitive. Really, we were able to gather even more information after those listening sessions with Bridging Voices, and we concluded that year with our meeting with a special session with Jesse Weller, where he was able to meet with all the community members that participated throughout that year. And that's really what kind of got us going. Once we kind of knew exactly what was the direction we were going to head, now you get to see the actual outcome of this, where we've actually supported in 55 cases where we've actually been out in outreach, and we've bridged them back to case management in 2025. This is data we're collecting. So that way we know that if you are, as a community member, meet us somewhere and you have a question or you have a concern, are we getting that information back to our service coordination team, and are we getting a response? We were able to really host over 75 community events, and we made sure that we heard you and we spread out, the way we're doing outreach throughout our entire catchment area. But other things that we also did is create trainings, and that's what you see in the Community Information Forum. These are training courses that we've built for our community. We've built the structure of these trainings to really kind of focus on what you wanted to learn about. And in 2025, we were able to train over 460 families. We were able to provide parent education training. The IEP is such an important component to the services because it's part of the program. Early detection is key, and we want to make sure that not only are you getting the services from us, but you're also getting them from your public education. And we were able to host 10 sessions, and we trained close to 400 participants in those events. We were able to partner with Department of Mental Health. We provided a 3-week series workshop for our adult community. And for us, these are things that we kind of, through all the information you heard earlier, we were able to build that support that you see here. And I think that's when you see things that are really going well. And that's when we kind of see some of our conferences, some of our dances, our Sirens of Silence events. These are events that really kind of, you register and there's no fee. So for us, if you register, we're really counting on you participating. But for us to see the numbers constantly be met, that's where I kind of feel like the things we heard through the Bridging Voices data, that we need to build trust. We need to build that kind of system where we do feel heard. And I think you see it through our registrations of our events. And we're very proud to see the numbers that we see. And in the month of October of 2025, we took on a really big task of doing a self-determination conference. And we were able to host over 400 individuals, and they all showed up. And our Sirens of Silence, we had over 500. So these are numbers that don't just happen because you put out a flyer. These are numbers that you get from the fact that we're building trust within our community. You see the communication being provided. You see the flyers being to you, our languages where you understand. So those are important things for us, which kind of leads to our language access. This is really kind of what has helped our regional center, because these are funds that we're able to utilize to make sure that every document that goes out through our constant contact is in these threshold languages. Every training that you attend, that I shared earlier, a board meeting, like today's board meeting, you don't have to request, I want Spanish speaking, that I want a Chinese interpreter. You show up to our board meetings, you have that. And that is all thanks to the language access. And these are things that we were able to start off right off the bat because of the fact that we knew not only did we have to build trust, but we had to build accessibility to you as community members. So as you could see the numbers of the things that we've interpreted, when you talk about we supported over 300 meetings throughout the year. Not only are we supporting San Gabriel's meetings, but we're also supporting Parents Place. We're also supporting equity partners. If you have a training that's going to serve our community and you need interpretation, we could support with that. And that's why you see such a big number of 300. These are we move on to our deaf and hard of hearing. I know this is a position that was very important to our regional centers. We do have over 1,000 deaf and hard of hearing individuals served in our regional center system. And one of the things that we kind of heard loud and clear, what type of supports are you providing for our deaf and hard of hearing individuals? And for us, when we were able to bring in Jessica Wilson, she already had experience being a service coordinator in an adult unit, supporting deaf and hard of hearing individuals. So for us to be able to bring her into our team, it kind of really solidified us as having one of the, really premier employees in the state of California to focus on this position. And what you see now is not only has she built a plethora of resources to share with our service coordinators, but also share with our community. It's in our resource guide. But the fact that she was able to build ASL classes for our community, these are 5-week sessions that occur. We register 40 families or individuals at a time. And to tell you the truth, within 48 hours, typically when we put out a flyer like the one you see, we basically book the 40 spaces. So for us, these are things that we're seeing help or work, and we're going to continue these. She also hosted her first deaf and hard of hearing gathering in the month of February, where we had over 30 individuals and families show up to our regional center to not only learn about what she does, also learn in regards to some of the partners that we have throughout our catchment areas. So we're very happy that we have Jessica Wilson. But if you want to learn more about this, some of what she does, please follow along throughout our constant contact, and please participate at our next event if possible. Hold on 1 second. This is what you see, our resource guide. This was created within the service access team. This is information that we were able to kind of gather throughout the year of information being collected. And we kind of heard our community. They said, we want something where we could kind of have everything in one document. And we heard you loud and clear, and we created this resource guide. This is available through PDF. If you know of a pediatrician office, daycare, preschool that might need these resource guides, this is what they were created. They were created for us to put throughout our catchment area and support us in the intake process. If you know of a family that might need support from our regional center, you give them that resource guide. So that's what we're doing. We're basically putting them out throughout our catchment area to support those families that still haven't had the opportunity to access us through the intake process. Which kind of leads me to what you see here. I thought this was fascinating data when I saw it as we presented some of our information. But from 2016 to 2021, our regional center system grew by 1,507 individuals. So in a 5-year span, we grew 1,507. When all this started, what I just demonstrated to you, which was in 2022, we had 16,278 individuals. Fast forward 3 years, we grew by over 2,744 individuals. Wow. So whether it's a coincidence or not, I feel the fact that it's like you see the work that's being done by our regional center. I think that really truly speaks to the fact that we are finding those individuals. We are making sure that they're coming through our intake process. And as you can see, our team is supporting them along the way. Which kind of leads me to the specialized service units. And I know I'm going to talk about enhanced services and self-determination. So enhanced services was created for those individuals that were identified as having low to no POS throughout our regional center system. And once they were identified, each regional center was to create a special caseload for these individuals, and their caseload ratios are 1 to 40. So when Jesse put these positions under service access, which really makes a lot of sense, my first question was, okay, what are we doing to enhance the experience here? And I got to hear a little bit about what they do. And I think for us, it's just really good foundation for these individuals and their families to really know our system. And as you could see, some of the generic resources that we're talking about. But for us, we kind of said, okay, let's take it a step further and let's create kind of workshops. Let's create, conferences for them to make sure that as you're doing your enhanced service coordination, we want to make sure that we also give them another opportunity to come to these workshops, but also be around other families that might be in that same situation. And these are the things that we were able to teach them on navigating the regional center, accessing regional center funds, generic resources, and then teaching them about education, college support, and employment support throughout our workshops. But what we did is kind of, we get these individuals in the month of July, and we carry them for 12 months. And what we decided is, well, when we're deciding back to where they came from, because we grab another group of individuals and enhanced caseload. So this regional center right here serves 200 enhanced service coordinations throughout the year. But what we said is, before we transfer them back, let's kind of do like a culmination, like a graduation, which kind of led us to think about an empowerment conference. And our first empowerment conference, we had 200 of our individuals participate. And they heard from Jesse Weller, they heard from multiple equity partners, they heard from different type of generic resources throughout our catchment area. And that's what we wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to really not only learn throughout the year, but really kind of leave with that mindset of, I feel empowered, and I'm going to make sure that, as we kind of have that saying in-house in regional center, is we want to stay connected, but you also want to keep connected throughout the process. And then which kind of leads me to self-determination. Self-determination is one of the types of services that you could receive in our regional center. And when this unit was transferred to Service Access, one of the things that we focus on is making sure that we're promoting self-determination. We're making sure that we're promoting all our services, to be exact. But for us, when the case was put in under Service Access and Equity, we had 76 participants in self-determination. Today, we have north of 350. So for us, it's like we see the recruitment, but we also see the fact that we grew so much that it's like we want to make sure that we continue to stay, keep that infrastructure to support our families throughout this process and our individuals. But for us, I think the fact that we really have an amazing executive team. They're always forward thinkers. They're always thinking, making sure, like, how do we support everybody throughout our regional center system? And these are things that for us, we've been able to accomplish. And for us in self-determination, again, we make sure that we're teaching on what is the role of the FMS, what is the role of the independent facilitator, and making sure that we're teaching. And in 2026, you're going to see that. You're going to see workshops to our community, workshops to our FMS and IFs, to make sure that we're all on the same page of this amazing program. So for us, we want to make sure that you as a community are aware. So we've already completed 2 conferences in self-determination, and every year this conference continues to grow. This is kind of like a snapshot of all the things that we're doing throughout the year. We're pretty much, again, from Altadena all the way up to Claremont throughout our catchment area. But as you can see, a lot of amazing tips that to build here. But most importantly, you as a community have the ability to find us throughout our events that we attend. So on that note, I do want to say thank you. And we've concluded our part of the presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you, Sal, everybody. That was absolutely so informative and really just so much great information. I appreciate all the incredible work you guys are doing, and I'm looking forward to all the incredible things that are going to be coming up in 2026 as well. So, Jesse, is there anything that you wanted to add?
No, I think the team did it. I see there's a question though. Sal, Karen's asking about the empowerment conference and who that is geared towards, the ages.
So the empowerment conference, thank you, Jesse. Thank you for that question. The empowerment conference is for those 200 that you heard in enhanced. So what we do is we make sure that they get that invitation via mail, through their service coordinator, via text message. So we make sure that they have the first opportunity to register for this conference. And we do understand that we do have competitive employment individuals in there that maybe that's why they have no POS. But there's different reasons as to why they might not be able to attend. So then once we kind of gather the numbers and we've given them that opportunity to attend, then we open it up to our community. So we do open it up to you. These are good conferences to attend if you still don't feel maybe confident about some of the things, but we really kind of put that out there to you all through constant contact, but also through the service coordinators, because we do share with them. If you have families that might be on that low to no, or just want more information, please invite them. And that's how we're able to kind of make sure that we have the 200 to participate.
Okay.
Just some context to everybody, the enhanced 1 to 40 caseload ratio, so one service coordinator to 40 people, that was a project that came out of East Los Angeles Regional Center. It was a disparity project they worked on a number of years ago, and they found it to be so effective, the state did, that they're like, you know what, this model should be replicated at all 21 regional centers. So based off the size of the regional center determines how many positions you get to serve individuals. As Sal mentioned, anybody who's receiving $2,000 or less a year in purchase of service, or none, based off of underserved communities and those areas. And so it was just to give a little context of the history of there. So it was so effective that it became a requirement for regional centers to have dedicated positions to do enhanced casework, to do more visits, to be able to. The idea is that if there is a ratio of 40 individuals, still a lot of work, but being able to do increased visits for some families. Back when East LA did their project, the service coordinators were having to do multiple visits a week for some of them, multiple visits, multiple follow-ups, breaking the IPP meeting into 3 or 4 different meetings to go at the pace of the family. So a lot of good work learned there, but just want to uplift kind of the context of where this came from, that regional centers receive specific policy funding now for these positions. So shout out to East LA for taking the charge in this area for the state.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
That's some really great information. Thank you. Thank you. Is there, before we move on, are there any other questions or comments for Sal and his team? Was that you, Tina? Did you have a question?
I thought like we did the conflict up in Sacramento, are we going to be able to do something like that here? Have all the regional center come out here to us so that we can do something like that?
You mean the ARCA training we went to?
Yeah.
Julie,
Well,
is there, or Jesse, you guys might have information?
the good news is when there's a board training again for ARCA, it will be in Southern California. So it's going to be a lot closer to home.
Yeah.
Sorry, Julie.
No, that's okay. And we're looking at either October or November.
October or November.
This year, 2026, and it'll be in Southern California. So
awesome. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. I have to say, as a board member, I would encourage, if it's local and you can go, it is very informative. Kelly and I attended a few of the trainings together, and it was quite informative, if I do say so.
I agree, very much so.
Another question. When will we have a face-to-face meeting at the new regional center?
That's a good question. Everybody's always welcome, and we'll be having those discussions, Tina, with our board in a collective conversation to see our schedule, not just current schedule, but also for the upcoming fiscal year. So that'll be driven by the board, but we are very invested, and as this board knows, we do an annual in-person meeting as well to recognize. So it's an important question, and I would say more to come on there.
Yeah, because I'm very excited to see the new regional center.
Absolutely.
We all are, Tina. We all are.
We'll put that out there, everybody, just for our new office. Information will be forthcoming shortly, so be on the lookout for communications from myself or from the regional center on grand opening dates and all of that. So there'll be open houses. So everybody doesn't have to be a board meeting. It's actually just going to be outside of that, just so everybody feels welcome to take a tour of our new location when that's ready and available. So there'll be lots of communications, and Kelly Privet has offered those big scissors, those beautiful scissors to do a red ribbon. We're gonna get ribbon. We're gonna make it official to open the door. It's a huge accomplishment. And I just want to publicly put on the record just to thank Dara for her efforts. Dara has been the lead in this project, down to every detail and logistic, working with the state and also making this project come to fruition down to the details. So we had a site tour today, just so everybody knows, and it's beautiful. It's coming together. We're on the home stretch of getting that date released for March. So more to come on there, so we can do our best to leverage just open houses on people's schedule, and everybody is welcome and invited, and we can't wait to show you our new location. And we're not leaving Pomona. People keep saying, we're not leaving Pomona. We're still there. This is a second office. This is our growth office.
Yeah.
And you can
Can't
stop by
wait.
anytime, Tina, with your pins.
Yes,
Yes.
we're gonna have to
There's
keep
not
an eye
only-
out for
not only-
another vendor fair.
Not just ink pens, but I'm gonna be learning how to make earrings too.
Okay, I'm
There
ready.
you go.
We'll figure this out, Tina.
Yes, we will.
Look at my nails.
They're
Oh,
beautiful.
they look beautiful. Are there any other board or community announcements? I noticed in our board packet, I just want to give a big kudos out to the team on the flyer for the on-duty team. I think that's a really great flyer, very informative. And I look forward to seeing all that's going to come as a result of that. And then also I noticed that there is an autism event coming up in April, but I just thought I'd ask if there's nothing going on in March. We're already almost to March. So I just thought I'd throw it out there. Make sure we get all that information. And seeing no other questions or comments, I just want to, I think we're getting ready to adjourn here. Thank you, everybody, and look forward to our next meetings coming up. Sal, team, that was a great presentation. Thank you so much for so much. I actually saved it because there's some other information I want to go back in there and look. So don't be surprised if I send you some questions later. But Rosa and everybody, thank you so much. And with that, I think we are done. We don't have anything else. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
All right.
Enjoy your
everybody.
Bye.
We're
Good
ending at
night.
8:37.